Hello guys! In this video I will share my tips on how I use Cursor to create and work on my projects. I've been using AI to code for 12-14 hours per day for more than a year now. If you don't know me yet, my name is Bruno and I'm trying to be on the forefront of this new era of coding with AI. I've had startups in Brazil, but I never coded in my life. And when I saw this trend starting, I jumped in immediately, way before Cursor even existed. I am recording this video because I've received a lot of positive feedback, but some people send me emails with questions and others got stuck at different points in the process. So I am making this video to share how I use Cursor and AI in general to create my apps. So before we start, just a little disclaimer, everything that I will talk about is just my personal experience as a non-coder, with literally zero experience in coding before I started using AI, and now Cursor, to create my apps from scratch. Alright, so the first tip I'm gonna give to you is to use a .cursorRules or rules for AI. I'm not getting into details on that. You can go ahead and research on the internet what it is, if you don't know yet, of course. Even though I didn't use any CursorRules or rules for AI in my course videos, I have one that I adapted myself and work great for big projects. I will share it for free on the dashboard in the extra module section. I didn't use a .cursorRules on the course web app videos because I knew it would be a simple app, and I wanted to get straight to creating without over complicating things. But you should use a very good set of rules for your AI, 100% sure. I made some tests and it definitely helps a lot. Second, model. Which AI model should I use? Cloud. That's it. Cloud has always been the best one for coding, and as right now, December 2024, it's still the best. Don't waste your time trying others. Use Cloud. If you can, use the new version that you have right here, right? Which is from October 22. All right, deploying. Well, listen this one carefully. I had a lot of trouble with that. All right, unless your project is just for your own computer, all right, you're doing some app that you're just gonna run on your computer, follow this rule. Always deploy your app from the start. You can ask Cursor to create the file structure with production and development in mind. And deploy it as soon as you finish the front page, right? So just do the front page, deploy, check that it's working, and then every single feature that you add, go there, deploy, especially when you add a different library or something to your project. Always keep deploying and checking that it's working. Because if you develop a big app locally, it doesn't mean that we will immediately work on a server. Servers can sometimes have different versions of software than your computer, which can cause a lot of problems. One thing that I've learned, it doesn't matter if it's working on your local host, it doesn't mean that it's gonna work on a production environment on a server, right? I don't know if you're gonna use Vercel, Render, Amazon, it doesn't matter. Always deploy from the start to make sure that everything is working, especially with libraries and different versions that you have something in your computer and in the server. It can save you a lot of trouble if you do this way. Deploy from the start. Do a feature, deploy. Make sure it's work on the server. Another feature, deploy again. Make sure it's work on the server. This is the best way to do it. All right, project structure. This one can be a little bit advanced for some people, but when I started, I also had no idea about it. So I would just ask Cloud to create a feature and it would add the code, I don't know where, all right, whatever he wanted. And for bigger projects, this is a no-go, all right? For bigger projects, for larger projects, if you're gonna have a lot of features or whatever, you need to guide Cursor and you need to know where everything is in your code, right? Literally, you need to separate everything by files, and I recommend you ask ChatGPT to teach you how to do it. I actually gonna have a tip here on how to use ChatGPT to be your project manager, because this one is really really important if your app gonna be big. All right, I'm gonna explain this a little bit later, but this is really really important. You can even use cursorRules to achieve this. All right, also always read what cursor is doing and where it's placing functions on your code. Any piece of code that cursor is doing, you need to know where it is, because later when you want to do a change, I'm gonna explain a little bit more about this later on another tip, but this is really really important, right? You need to understand your code. You need to know where Cloud is adding the code that you just asked it to write. For example, my project, all right? I'm working on this project here for about 2 months, and this project is huge, has 40,000 lines of code already. Most people have difficulties to work with big projects and big code bases, but all these tips that I'm giving to you gonna help you that you are able, like I am able, to work with huge code bases. And organization is king on this matter. I'm just gonna make a little demonstration for you here. You have this file system where everything, this is gonna be a productivity app like Notion, for example, or like Monday, or like Trello. All right, where you're gonna have different tools for productivity. Here's your file system. Everything that you create here, you're gonna save on this file structure that you can create folders. You can rename a folder for anything that you want. Of course, you can delete folders and comes here to trash. You have this sticky notes that you can see here. You have a command. I want to make this for power users. So if you press space, sorry, all right, you can create a new stick note very easy here. It's gonna be there's a scroll here. You scroll the mouse and you choose whatever you want really fast. So if you want to create a sticky note, I just press space. I click here. All right, I can change the color. I can type anything I want. If I click here, it just types in the middle. All right, let's say meeting at 12, and you want to have this central here. You can do this. What more? If you press N, you have a note-taking app right in front of you, really fast. So you're working here in your projects, and you press N, and it's right here. You can type whatever you want, and you can save. You can even choose where you want to save on these folders that I chose you. You can even see from different workspace, because here on the main page, if you use your mouse, the wheel on your mouse, you can switch very very easily from one workspace to another. All right, another thing that you can do here, which is pretty nice, you can add a stamp. Let's say you are assigning a feature, a task for someone from your team. You can add a stamp here to show that you assigned, or anything that you want to do with that. I'm going to use this little tool in everything. It shows the users that are online on this right here right now. But okay, enough to talk about this. I just want to show you that this project is huge. Let's say I want to change something in this project. Let's say I want to change the sticky notes, right? I know exactly where are my sticky note files, right? So if I come here and I type sticky notes, I know that my sticky notes just use this one, and this one and this one. This one is the back end, all right? I know that anything that I want on my sticky notes, if I want to make a change on my sticky notes, it's these 4 files. So I can literally start a new chat here, just mention these 4 files, and Cloud gonna work perfect, because the context is not so big. We're gonna talk about context in a tip that's gonna follow, but this is really important. You know everything about your code, all right? Let's say I have also a calculator, a tool that is a calculator on the app. Let's say I want to change anything in my calculator. I know that everything on my calculator is inside this app. It's inside this file. There's no code that is related to the calculator that is outside of this file. Everything is inside here. If I want to do a change on my calculator, I open a new file. One more time. I open a new composer right here. I come here, I type calculator, and that's it. Cloud now knows everything about my calculator. This is really, really important. All right, so now we're gonna talk about context. Context is king. Context is really, really, really important. Just because you know what you're asking, it doesn't mean that Cloud knows what you're asking. Remember that Cloud has, as of today, 200K of context window. What this means? It means that it can keep in memory just 200,000 tokens. So if your code base is huge, or if you're talking with Cloud for a long time and your chat caps start to get really, really big, Cloud gonna start to make crazy mistakes just because it doesn't know everything, right? It just know what is inside this context. And Cursor does a very, very good job of just sending to Cloud what it believes that is necessary. But even Cursor can make some mistakes sometimes. So that's why my last tip is really important. When you know where everything in your code is, and you can just link, you can open a new composer with a fresh composer and just link the files that are related to with the change or the feature that you want to work. This is the best way to work. So these two things is really, really, really important. You need to keep in mind the context. Sometimes you ask him to Cloud to do something and it does a mistake and does a mistake again. It keep giving you dumb answers. It's just because it just doesn't know. It just doesn't know what you're asking. It maybe is a maybe you believe it knows because you talked it before, but maybe it's outside of this context window of 200K. Maybe you talk about that in the beginning. It doesn't have any memory anymore. This is really important. So keep your context short, and having an organized code base gonna make a huge difference, especially for large projects. Okay, so now programming languages. What are the best programming languages to create your app using AI if you want the AI code for you? Well, that's pretty simple. You just need to understand how the AIs were trained in the first place. They were trained on the internet data. So you need to use a programming language that has more resources online. And in order to do that, you can literally use ChatGPT, for example. Come here to ChatGPT and ask, what are the programming languages that have more resources on the internet? Just the names, please. Ranked. And it's gonna tell you. So if you're starting a new project, I recommend you going for Python and JavaScript. I did my gaming launcher and the lobby on Python, and it was amazing. Cloud knows a lot of Python. It programs perfectly in Python. And now I'm doing this productivity app using JavaScript, using React with JavaScript, and it's just insane. I also use C#, which is this one right here, and also works very, very well. So this means that if you want to use one of this right here, maybe you're gonna have a less than perfect scenario for Cloud. All right. So if you whatever you're trying to do, the app they're trying to do, you can make using these two languages. This is the way to go. All right. It's the same for library. We're gonna talk about libraries later, but if you're gonna use a library, a Python library or a JavaScript library or a framework or whatever, use the ones that have more resources online, because the AI was literally trained on online data on the internet. So whatever have more on the internet, it's gonna knows more. It's gonna know more. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about libraries, and this is a really important tip, because the difference between choosing a good library that the devs are still working on it, still developing, still updating the library, and an outdated one that no devs are working anymore, it's day and night. The difference is literally day and night. First, let me explain what's a library, because maybe some people doesn't know. A library is basically a ready component that you can attach to your web app. So let's say you're doing a dashboard, okay? And you need a chart. You don't want to get behind, do all the math and place the lines and the location of the lines or whatever it takes to create a chart. You don't need to do that. There's people that did this before, and there's libraries for literally anything that you want. So if you want to do a chart, there's dozens of libraries for you to create a chart. If you want, I don't know, if you want to create a messenger, for example, and you need emojis, what are you going to do? You're going to take all the pictures of literally every single emoji and put together in a folder and create from scratch? No, you don't need to. There are libraries out there, dozens of them, with emojis, right? That you can literally just type a line of code and the emoji appears. And you can select easily and blah, blah, blah. So, or for example, a calculator. You don't want to get involved in the math of creating a calculator. There are libraries out there that can, with one line of code, print a calculator for you on the screen. Especially if your app is in Python or in JavaScript, React, for example, there's countless of libraries. Just example, just to illustrate and so you know how I find the best libraries to work with. Let's use chart, for example. Let's say you are doing a dashboard and you need a chart, okay? So you're gonna go to ChatGPT, which is your project manager. We're gonna talk more about that later. And you're gonna type, I have a web app in React plus Node.js, and I need a chart. What are the best libraries available? And ChatGPT just gonna put probably recharts, recharts on the first spot, and gonna give you a list, right? And you're gonna come here, you're gonna see the best ones. This is the process that I do, okay? Now I know what are the best, but I also want to know if the devs are still updating this thing, right? This library. So what I do is I come here and I type npm and the name of the library, and I'm gonna come here and we're gonna see here two things. First thing we want to see is this. If you see a library here that the last version was published 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, get away. It's an old code that probably gonna cause a lot of bugs on your code base. Get away from that. Another thing that you want to see if there's a lot of people downloading, a lot of people using it. And as you see, the recharts is like, it's insane, the amount. So this is basically the two things that you want to do. Let's say you want to have an emoji, same thing. Emoji Mart is probably the best one, or this one right here, same thing. You come here, you type npm, Emoji Mart, you come here, and you see this one, you see 8 months ago, but I mean, there's not there. But by the way, here sometimes they have a picture. For example, if you put this code, if you attach this code on your main code, one line of code, and you're gonna have this here to select from. All right, I already used this one, by the way, and it works great. And as you can see here, displays for you that you can have the dark theme or the light theme, the dark and the light theme. So literally one line of code, and this widget, let's say widget, gonna appear in your code this way. This one is a very good one, by the way. And as you see, 500,000 people download weekly. This shows that it's being a lot used by a lot of people. So it normally is a good indicative that is a good library. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about responsiveness. What it is. Basically, you want that your web app look good on a browser, but you also want that it looks good on a cell phone. Because I don't know if you know, but 70% or maybe even 80% of the people that are gonna access the users that are gonna access your web app gonna access using a phone. And so this is really important, and this follows really close with the tip that I gave to you about deployment. Okay, you want to start to do this from the beginning, from the first page of your web app, you want to do this process that I'm gonna teach you right here. If you're using Chrome, you're gonna press F12 on your keyboard, and you're gonna see this right here. Okay, this one right here is your console. We're gonna talk about that in the next tip. But what you're looking for is to click right here on this little icon of a computer and a cell phone right here. When you click right here, you're gonna see, I mean, you can select here what kind of cell phone or tablet or whatever. Okay, here average people use 1920 for 1080, so you can see how someone with a monitor of this size would see your web app. And you can see for different phones. So let's see iPhone 14 Pro Max, you would see like that. So you want to do this process from the beginning, from the first page that you create. You always gonna press F12, you're gonna come here and you're gonna check that it looks great on a cell phone. Okay, doing this in the end when everything is ready, it's basically impossible. All right, it's an impossible mission, believe me. So every single time, every new feature, every single anything, any text that you add, you're gonna come here and you're gonna check that it looks great also on a cell phone. As you see, my website looks perfect. Literally everything that you can see on a browser, right? It also looks good on a cell phone. And this is really, really important, okay? And this is how you do. And now just another tip here. I mean, you probably know, okay? But you can ask Cursor to make, you can ask from the beginning as well to Cursor or Cloud to make sure your website is fully responsible for any type of device. And let's say your website, like this website I created for my real estate business, let's say your website has a menu, and let's say it's a big menu, it doesn't matter the size, but let's say you have a menu. Okay, if you ask Cloud to create a menu that just gonna appear for cell phones, it's gonna create as well. Okay, and now if I run here the same F12 that I just showed you, now it appears this menu that you probably saw many times when you use your phone to access some websites. That's how it's done. It's a code that just runs when someone access using a phone. Okay, so here, as you see, this menu right here for cell phone just appears when the user access through a phone. Always ask Cursor if something doesn't look good on cell phone. Okay, always check both ways for web browser, for a browser in a computer, and also for cell phone. And if it's not looking great in one and another, ask Cursor that it's gonna fix for you. Okay, so now console logs. Well, this was a game changer for me. My productivity started to skyrocket after I started to use console logs. What are console logs? Well, basically console logs, it's a piece of code, it's a line of code that you're gonna ask Cloud to implement for you in every single action that your code does, your functions and everything, okay? I can use an analogy for you for you to understand better. Imagine that you are baking a cake, and this cake is a function on your basically is a function on your web app. Okay, so console logs, it's basically it appears here on your F12. If you press F12, it appears here. So imagine that every single action that you do to bake your cake, it's gonna appear here. So basically it would say, okay, I just added the eggs. Okay, now I'm mixing the eggs with the milk. Okay, now I'm bringing to the oven. Okay, now it's ready. Okay, so it's basically you're gonna ask Cloud to add for on your code, and I use this like proactivity, not just when happens a mistake. Well, most people just ask console logs when the code does something that they're not supposed to, or you have an error. No, I do this like literally in the beginning of any prompt that I do. I always ask Cloud to add for every single action a console log. Okay, and why? Because if the code does something that was not supposed to, or there is an error, I can come here and I can copy the console log, and Cloud gonna understand exactly when the bug happened. if there's an error or it did something that it wasn't supposed to do. If, for example, in the baking, the problem was when mixing the egg with the milk, it's gonna right there, you're gonna see that the error happened right there. Okay, so this is a huge one. How to do it? It's simple. Just ask to Cloud. You're gonna ask a feature for Cloud. You're gonna ask in the after you type your prompt. You're gonna ask in the end. Please add console logs for every single action on this function, and that's it. You're gonna have here. It's also great for you to understand what your code is doing, and you can, as you see here in my app, anything that I do, it's gonna print many things. You see, anything that I do. If I press S and add a sticky note, it shows even where where is adding the position. It shows when it shows when saves to the database. If I change the color, the same. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about using ChatGPT as your project manager. Unless you know what you're doing, you're better off using ChatGPT to be your project manager. And what I mean with that, whenever you start a new project, you're going to start with a new cursor, fresh composer. You're going to open a new folder. Okay, I'm going to start my new web app. Okay, always ask ChatGPT. Just of course, first give the context. Say, I want to do this app. This app is a dashboard. This app is a messenger. This app is a SaaS. Doesn't matter. All right. How a big company would do? Ask ChatGPT. Outline for me the overview of everything that I need in order to create this app, and always follow through as ChatGPT was your project manager. What libraries should I use to create this feature? Always use ChatGPT to do that. Try to don't use try to don't do this with Cloud because you're paying for Cloud to code. So save this, and you can even use the ChatGPT free version to outline what you should do. Okay, I'm just gonna give you an example. This is the code of my game. I'm gonna just run here to show you. I need to create a matchmaking. I never created a matchmaking. I know how it works because I used to play video games, so I know that matchmaking literally puts everybody together on a queue, and then when the criteria is met, it sends people, all right? People of the same region, people that have similar pings, or people that have similar skill level or whatever. I always knew how it works, but I never did it. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, okay, ChatGPT, I have this game and I need to create a matchmaking. How a triple A game studio would create this in Python, because my code was in Python. And then ChatGPT outlined for me everything that I needed to do, and then it created the code, okay, and I created, right? And multiple people already used this matchmaking on a alpha that I did it, and it worked perfectly. Okay, the server is off now, but here you have this that wait for players, and then pair players from the same region. As you saw there, I had different regions. Pair players from the same region, same similar ping, and whenever the criteria is matched, which is 10 players here, whenever 10 players enter in this queue, it sends a signal for them using a library that I didn't even know that existed before. The name is WebSocket, and then it just worked perfectly. So use ChatGPT to be your project manager. This is a very good tip. Don't try to get everything out of your mind unless you know what you're doing, of course. But if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't even be watching this video, let's be honest. So this is a video for non-coders, and non-coders probably doesn't have an idea how to create a matchmaking, how to create a dashboard, how to create anything. All right, so ask ChatGPT. It can outline for you the overview of everything that you need to do, and then you go step by step, copying there and pasting on Cloud, and creating from scratch every single feature. Okay, now backups. Oh wow. Maybe the most important one. It could be the most important one in some cases. And because it doesn't matter if you did everything correct. If you do one mistake in your code, you delete one file, or Cloud does a mistake and you save, and you close cursor, next day when you're gonna see there's an error in your code, you're not a coder, you can't find this error by yourself. Cloud also is not helping you too much, and you basically your code is broken and you're gonna need to spend multiple prompts to try to fix it. Okay, so backups are really important. The most professional way to do backups is to use Git. Okay, and have your code in a platform like GitHub. Okay, I'm not getting into details on that. What I'm gonna teach you right here is the way that I currently do. Even though I know how to use Git, I'm not using right now because I feel that is just one step more. Okay, so the way I'm doing is that first of all, I'm following everything that I teach you before. Okay, so my code is very organized, so every time I need to do a change in my code, uh, I just open a new composer and I work just in that specific files. And then if I did a mistake, or if I want to roll back some changes that I didn't like, I come back here to Cursor, because now Cursor has kind of a version control, kind of a Git built to it that works very well. You need to take care, because if you do a change in the code, sometimes it doesn't roll back, but it does roll back every single change that Cloud did, that the AI did for you on your code. Right, so just for example here, okay, I moved the button on my game launcher here up, okay, and I moved it up 100 pixels, and then I did more 100 pixels. So if I want to roll back for this change right here, let's say this is a change that I did that I didn't like, okay, I can come back right here and click here, and I click continue. It's gonna revert the files. I can save. So if I run my code now, it's right here, okay. And if I want to check out on a prior version of my code, I can check out right here, click OK, and now my button gonna be in the right place. All right, so anytime you want to roll back your code, Cursor has this new feature, which is really good. So it has this version control right here, which is really good. I'm using this a lot, and I'm using this instead of Git. And what I also do is and you're gonna laugh, if you're advanced user, you're gonna laugh, but I also do a hard backup every single time I finish a big feature. So basically what I do is that I come here and I copy the whole page. For example, this is the course app, this is the Zero Code CO app. I copy the whole page right here, and I save in a for example, right here I have some. I save the whole folder with everything inside, and I give a name for it. This is a hard backup that I have, and I have even sometimes in another, not sometimes, all the time I save in a different SSD. So I have this saved, and I give the name. Look, as you see, this was in this day in the morning before I started the folders. Whenever I finished the folders were ready, so I save it as well. So every single big feature that I finish, I save the whole folder. So I use, for small changes, I use this feature that is built in Cursor, and for big and every time I finish a big feature, I save the whole folder. This is being working well for me, and I'm really happy with this, so I don't need to use Git anymore. But Git is very good as well. If you want to learn, I recommend you learn to use Git. Okay, so that's it. Those are my tips for you to get the most out of your Cursor, out of Cloud. I follow these rules for a long time, and these tips for a long time, and that's probably what makes me, a person that doesn't know anything about code, to be able to create full stack web apps. I did already 3 web apps that are completely functional, has no bugs on it, has no error. And I see a lot of people struggling, especially with large code bases. And I think those tips can help you manage to work with a code base. Maybe not with a code base that already exists, if you already have a code base, but if you follow the steps from the beginning, especially with the core code organization and understand where everything is your code is, I think these tips can make you work very, very well with big code bases as well. I have two code bases that one is 30,000 lines of Python. I don't understand nothing about Python. And the one and Dashflow, which is my productivity app that's gonna come up soon, which has almost 40,000 lines of code, and I can work just fine with them. The code is clean, there's no error, there's no bugs, anything. Okay. I see a lot of people posting. It's most clickbaits. Oh, create a app, blah blah blah. Well, this works very well for clickbait, but it doesn't work well if you plan to deploy your web app. Okay, if you don't follow these tips from the beginning, you probably want to have a lot of trouble to deploy. You're probably going to have a lot of trouble making your product available for people. If you are interested, I have this course here on Zero Code CO. It's a $30 course that I did that teaches you how to create this exact website. I basically did this web app which has Stripe for payment, MongoDB for database, Google login. All right, so let me log out here. So you log in with Google, and then when you pay, you start your account gonna be premium, and then you're gonna have, I mean, you don't need to pay to access the dashboard. I made the dashboard available. Another person bought while I was recording this video. Pretty nice. And by the way, this is pretty interesting how US, Canada, and West Europe. That's interesting. Nobody in this continent. That's interesting. So I did this live recording. It took me 8 hours of creating, and it took me 2 days for also to add the videos, to create the logo and everything. But it is literally 8 hours of course right here that you can watch. This account is premium, so this account can access the videos. All right. And I did, and also the shards and everything is functional. I did this in 8 hours without typing a single line of code. I recorded everything, and I'm selling for just $30. So if you are interested, this basically gonna teach you how to create from scratch, literally from an empty folder, from a print screen. I took a print screen of a website that is similar to this one, from a print screen to a full stack web app without typing a single line of code, with payment using Stripe, with Google login, and with a simple dashboard here showing the revenue, showing the premium members. This is all the people that log in by Google. And if you are interested, please go ahead. And I also recorded a video recently of this success page that has some animation. I'm gonna add soon here in extra modules for free for everybody. And also, if you have any questions, please send me an email. You can find here my email on the bottom of the website, zerocodeshow@gmail.com. If you want to hire me to help you as well, I mean, I didn't thought about this before, but a person sent me an email and offered me to pay by hour to help on his code. So we hopped on Discord, and I helped him for 2 hours on his code. We fixed a lot of things. We made the payment work with Stripe. And if you need some help as well, please send me an email. I'm available for work at any time. So that's it. I hope you like. I hope you guys like it, and see you in the next video. Oh, another thing. I also gonna post more videos on this YouTube channel. So if you would like to see more contents like this with tips and so on, please subscribe to this channel. And also social media. You can find me on social media very easily. I'm gonna put my social medias on the description of the video. And that's it. Let's code. Let's be a CEO with zero code.